Good afternoon. I'm glad to present this session for you. And what we'll be doing is looking at a whole lot of reasons why a professional grant writer can make a difference for proposals. So let's take a look at the learning objectives. By the end of this session, you should have a whole lot of information about the following. We will talk about the circumstances that might require a professional grant writer. We'll look at the types of proposals that would benefit from professional writing assistance. We'll take a look at the characteristics of a good professional grant writer. We'll look at some best practices for collaborating with a grant writer. And we'll talk about some mistakes and pitfalls in using a professional grant writer, because there are certain things a grant writer can do and certain things a grant writer cannot do. There's certain things you can do to facilitate the process. So let's take a look at what we mean by grant writers. There are internal grant writers, which is the role I'm serving right now, and there are external grant writers, and there's a combination of the two. Any one of these can provide very useful services and support. So let's talk about the first option. Many institutions are beginning to develop a central proposal development service that includes professional grant writers available for persons working in that institution. In fact, this movement is gaining momentum. There's even a new organization of proposal developers. These are primarily persons who work in a central grants office, or perhaps they work for a vice president for research or for some very high-ranking institutional official. The idea is that they are resources for the whole institution. Pretty typically, they work on very large-scale proposals. Pretty typically, what they work on is at the discretion of the high administrators. Generally, they don't work with an individual faculty person, but these very large-scale collaborative projects. There are some institutions that do, in fact, have this service for individual faculty or researchers, and it depends on the size and the scope of this central proposal development service. At my last university, we offered such a service to any faculty member who wished to use the service, but they had to get in line to use it. They could not come at the last minute. There also are college or unit proposal developers who work in various administrative functions the way I do in a college of engineering. There are medical schools that have them. At my university, several of the other colleges do have college or unit proposal developers. And then many, many institutions have, we're kind of going down the scale in the location or the level of service. Many institutions have writing centers or writing labs where any person who wishes can bring a writing project and have someone do some proofreading and editing. Then there's the external grant writers, grant developers, consultants. There are thousands of them across the United States and probably across the world who provide an array of services for a fee. Now, the first three that I talked about are provided by the institution, no fee involved, although, as I said, there may be certain criteria that have to be met. And so let's talk about some of the range of assistance from macro to micro that grant writers, whether they're internal or external, can provide. One of the services that I have provided as an external grant writer is coordinating meetings, bringing stakeholders together, trying to figure out what the project is going to be, and getting people rallied behind the project. Now, what I'm talking about is very large-scale collaborative projects that might involve multiple institutions. So sometimes an external grant developer can be very useful in bringing folks together, organizing them, understanding the RFP, assigning responsibilities. So sometimes an external person can do this better and more efficiently than an internal person. Sometimes there just is no internal person with the time to be able to do this. Sometimes a grant writer, proposal developer can help formulate an approach to a project, can help define a focus. Sometimes can expand the focus, can decrease the focus, can get the different players to understand their role in the scope of the project. One service that I regularly provide as an internal grant consultant is outlines and templates and sample language for projects. And again, this is something that can be done for a variety of projects, a variety of agencies. We're not talking normally about the standard single investigator research grant to NSF, NIH. Usually, you don't use an external or internal grant writer for these types of projects. Sometimes an external or internal grant writer can write parts of the proposal. For example, sometimes there are management plans to be written. Sometimes there